What's up, y'all? Welcome back. This is the 43rd episode. I've got my good boy here, the man, the myth, the legend. I got Mike Davis in the house. So, Mike, why don't you kind of kick us off, bro? Tell us, like, how'd you get into the communities? Like, how'd you get into real estate? What kind of brought you to this place?
Yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate you having me on, Adam. Just a quick tidbit. Been in the real estate space at this point for about going on 5 years, and jumping in from the W-2 space and not one company to tell me how much I can make or what I can do in my life, that kind of thing, and how much, I'm actually worth. I wanted to, break away from that and just go balls to the wall, figure it out myself. You know what I'm saying? Always been a creative, always been somebody that's trying to go against the grain. And in this space, joining in real estate, it was like, it just kind of makes sense, you know what I'm saying? You can make any kind of deal you want, you can do anything, you can write your own check. And from there, just been through the trenches, just you know what I'm saying, every which way, learn how to build a business, learn how to, discipline yourself completely different, adopt new habits, a different mindset, the whole nine. There's a lot to it, and you know what I'm saying? Now we here.
So, where did you come from? Like, what world in W-2 were you in? Like, what industries and stuff?
Yeah, so I was in sales as a W-2. I'm naturally a musician. Like that was always my space. But anybody in the music industry, like it's feast of famine real quick, especially with attention and stuff like that. But I've, had success in the industry. I've got major placements to work with a lot of people and stuff like that. But sales was always the bread and butter. It was like, all right, cool. We need active income. We're gonna go ahead into this space and ended up getting real good at it over time, but just wasting the talents for companies that didn't really care. You know what I'm saying? Um, so it got to the space. I think right before I jumped head first into real estate, I was working at a finance company out in Beverly Hills, and it had promise for the position. Eventually, the promise was, all right, cool, you're going to get into the closer role. You can make $250,000, that kind of thing. And obviously, it's performance based, but I'm always of the mindset, all right, if somebody else is doing that, I'm doing that too, or if not more. So, getting into that space, doing everything right, doing, performing and making them a lot of money. But long story short, politics got into the way. They played with me, and I was like, nah, I'm good, brother. And they tried their best to be like, no, 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 come on, stay just a little bit longer, a little bit longer. And I was like, nah, bro, this is costing me too much time and energy. I was driving to and from LA 3 hours um back and forth, having to get up at like 3:45 in the morning just to make it there like 6:30. And it's just like, for all of that to make a little bit, I was cool with that. So that kind of space is where I came from.
Dude, that's hard because I think sales attracts a lot of the people that are the entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, like when you go from W-2 to 1099, you got like some form of bumpers up, right? Like somebody's taking care of the overhead and the training and the whatever.
Mhm.
And I know that's what happened to me. Like I was doing sales, I was self-employed, I was 1099. I was like, man, I'm smart enough. I could do this shit on my own.
Yeah.
And then when I got my teeth kicked in, here we are.
Facts, facts. Yeah, that christening real early. 'Cause, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
stick with it, you know what I mean? It come around.
Oh, bro, I was a glutton for punishment. I formed my first LLC at like 19. And so I was
Mhm.
always kind of like in and out between, I would like do a business, then maybe go do like some 1099 for a little while just to carry and cover bills and whatever. And then start another business. Maybe it worked out, maybe it didn't work out. I
Yeah.
bought my first business owner financed at like 25,
Oh, that's fire.
and that didn't work out.
What kind of
Um,
business was
it was actually a pedicab shop. So, like the bike taxis that you see in like downtown areas?
it? Yeah.
That's I did that for a good while. That was that was like my self-employed role that made me think like I could go off and do this on my own because they have
Hmm.
a really interesting model, and we'll talk about this too with you and sub two in cars.
Yeah.
But the bike taxis they only had like two or three people on staff. They'd have like two mechanics and a couple managers.
Hmm.
Everybody else was 1099, and they would request a bike for this shift on this day, and then they would lease the equipment from the company. So in this case, I would pay for the shift at the end of the shift, and the rent might be like say $40. And there was an expectation that I would triple that number. So that way I would walk away with $2 and you'd walk away with one, at least, if not better.
Hmm.
And so if we didn't do that well because of weather or whatever, then we could petition them to lower the rent, and they would sometimes. So if I only made 100, they'd be like, "Yeah, well, fine, turn in like 33 and we'll call it good." You
God.
know? But yeah, I bought a fleet of bikes at 25 and moved from Louisiana to Mississippi to run it.
Mm, dang, damn, that's chill. I mean, you believed in it too to make a move. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what's up.
Yeah, man, I was young and brave and probably a little dumb, and now I'm just not young.
For sure, for sure.
So how long have you been in the communities and whatnot, Mike?
So with Sub 2, this is going on year number 4. I joined 2021, end of 2021 for Sub 2. Joined Gator when Pace had the PCS promotion too. So whenever that time was, I think but now it's about like 2 years or so. That's for this ecosystem. I've been joining a bunch of other different real estate communities and masterminds and things like that. Just trying to get around the right people, rub shoulders, figure out ways to add value to them and, extract things to help myself and, our business. But yeah, just running in, man. And for Sub 2, like this community, of course, we always say like this is the best real estate community on the planet because it's more centered around community and folks actually coming in and making sure that, we all succeed, we all win, we all feed off of each other, and we help build each other up. Like I can confidently say in my business now that definitely would not be where it is without the community. That's a fact.
Yeah, so you in there with some of the OGs like Jesse, who we were talking about before the recording.
Yeah, but I haven't met him yet, but I will after this. I know we all get out the squad up.
Yeah, man, we'll all be there. In fact, Tyler, who's in here, is going to be my roommate. So me
Oh,
and him
that's
flying
chill.
in together.
That's chill. Shout out to Tyler. Shout out to Jay too, man.
Yeah, man. It'd be cool. Tyler's one of the ones that me and him were looking at RV parks. So that was, one of the things we were talking about before we kicked the recording.
Yeah, nah, that's
So
dope.
let me ask you this, Mike, because it doesn't seem like a totally natural transition to go from like real estate to cars. So what made you think like, hey, we're doing this whole sub two thing on houses, right? Like there is a line for it on in the closing docs, even
Mm,
though most people don't even know it's there.
right.
Like what made you think maybe we could do this with cars?
Yeah, man. I tell this story all the time. It's pretty organic because it was just a need that I had that made me want to expand, this thought process. But I just needed a car. I was cash rich and credit poor and, already in sub two. And Pace always talks about you can sub to anything. So I was like, all right, well shit, I'm never going to a dealership again. I'll just go sub to my own car. And the reason why I believed is because Pace always used the F-150 story to talk about houses. So it was like, we got experience and I did the thing and, closed on a few houses in different parts of the country for sub two, seller finance, that kind of thing. It was like, oh, okay, this shit is really real, right? But when it came to a whip, it was like, all right, well, shit, we can do the same thing. He keeps talking about that F-150 story. There's got to be something real about it. And then eventually, just around at least I had this problem, he had dropped in these sub two car docs. Now, usually, if anybody who's in sub two, like there's always value being added into this community. It's crazy. And Pace will always drop in, whether it's different Zooms or whether it's different files or different, resources and things like that. And this time he dropped in a bunch of contracts for the cars. So he never explained the cars. He just, everything else he usually explains or just has like a Zoom coming or whatever the case is. And this time he did. So he just said he'll get back to it later. And at that time, I just needed a car. So I was like, screw it. If it's there, it's public. Let me go ahead and download it, figure it out, and try the shit from there. Reverse engineered the documents, went through what Sean Sinclair had drafted and called around the different insurance companies, DMVs, whole nine, trying to figure out a process. And long story short, they was like, you can-ish, but you need to do X, Y, Z. It wasn't really that clear. And so I said, fuck it, let me just go ahead and, what I'm saying, go at it and try it. And I failed at trying to find an opportunity because I was looking in the wrong spaces. So I still ended up getting a car from a dealership. But a couple of days later, the missing piece was revealed because I went down to a meetup down in Ocean City, excuse me, Ocean City, in Orange County. And had after the meeting that talk with my guy Richard Knowles, we were just, chopping it up and the conversation about the car documents came up. And I was like, man, like the cars, yo, you can sell to anything. It's really true. And ultimately, I told him, I was like, yeah, bro, but I just had to get this, car. He was like, yo, why didn't you try looking inside of Turo groups? Because I was looking all over the place, like Marketplace and, outside different places like that, not really having much luck. And he was like, why don't you try the Turo groups? And I was like, dang, like that was so simple because the at that time, the car market was shifting the same thing with most everything else. Everything was on a high and it was going in the reverse. So it was like, yo, these people got these loans that are so high and they need to get out of it. So it was a light bulb that went off. Went home immediately, made a post, and the shit went viral. And it was a whole bunch of cars that just came up from exotics to regulars, everything in between. Plenty of people was like, yo, just take my payments. I don't care. I'll keep it. And I was like, this is insane, right? So this was a problem that I knew I had, but now I realize it's a problem everybody had. We're still closing at the end of the day. Like I'm a salesperson. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me go and close a couple of these deals, see what happens. And I went to go try to find buyers. Same thing happened. Went viral, went crazy. So the need was clearly there on both sides. It then just ended up going through and, continuously ironing out the process. A lot of people who understood like what we were trying to do was like, they just kept saying, yo, this is a great idea. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. And we were solving problems. We started going through all of the kinks, started going through all of the issues, all of the, things that happened, but just continuously kept going. And over time, had the actual experience of what's really going on and how these deals really work and what it really is. And then just understand, oh, it's not technically sub to, but it is in a sense, right? Like all of the back end stuff and how to deal with each state. We called around to all of the different states in the country to figure out what the DMVs, got a whole database for all the insurance companies, the lenders, a whole knot, right? So just how that process works. And then we just continuously built on it. So it was more of like a natural need that turned into like, okay, this is a business opportunity. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, it's still in the realm of creative finance. So it's not necessarily like a completely different world. It's just a different product or service, you know what I'm saying? A different asset class. At the end of the day, it still falls under the realm of creative finance, which is still a need for
Well,
everybody.
and that's what I like about it too, is because there's so many different asset classes of vehicles, you really could specialize in anything. Like I said, you and I are good friends, both good friends with Carly. I
Hmm.
love Carly, but like she buys all kind of shit. Right
Hmm.
now, she's mostly doing RVs, right? Like camper, everything from camper vans to fifth wheels and whatever.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but we were also saying that like you could do boats, you could do planes. You know, Pace just did a plane.
Yep. Yep. 100%. You can do it on pretty much anything, man. You can do it on the yacht, a houseboat, RV, toy hauler. You can do it on dirt bikes. You know what I'm saying? Like anything off road doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Let alone you can do just in the realm of creative finance. You know what I'm saying? It's on residential real estate, commercial real estate. You can buy businesses like you talked about earlier, buying that business. You know what I'm saying? Owner finance, like bro, creative finance is across everything. You just have to know how it works on the back end. So that's all that this space is. And we just kind of broke it open for the vehicles. That's why we came up with the top method to make it accessible for anybody to jump on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you also just gotta be willing to be told no, right?
Mm.
Because you and I have seen this since we've been in the communities. Like you pitch creative, whether it's for a vehicle, or for a house, or for a business, or for a multifamily, or whatever. It doesn't matter the asset class. You're gonna
Mm.
get told no. You're gonna get told no, that's illegal. No, I don't understand it. No, whatever. You
Yeah.
just gotta keep going.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And get real used to getting told no, getting used to rejection is a superpower. Because then that's like the more no's you get is the faster you get to your yes. And all you need is a few of them.
You know what I was gonna ask you too? Is anybody doing top on commercial vehicles?
Like semi trucks or like heavy machinery. Is that what you're talking about? Or
Probably yeah, anything like that, like medium duty and up.
yeah.
Probably
Like,
anything three, class 3 or 4 and above to 8.
so let's say things like garbage truck or fucking
Probably anything that you could get in fleet, like anything from a half ton, like an F-150 or an F-350 and up.
oh, easy call. So we got 2500s, 3500s in our joint right now. And we've done plenty of pickup truck deals. So right now we got a flatbed in that we're looking to offload. But I mean this is on regular like half ton, 3/4 tons, whatever you want to do to like I said, like large vehicles. So you can do this on heavy machinery as well. All it is just learning how the loan structure is done, where the paperwork, who gets paid, how the stuff is insured, and as long as you get all of that stuff right, you can go and do the deal.
Because I noticed through COVID, that was the one market that didn't go haywire like all the other ones did.
Mhm.
Because, my business now is very vehicle intensive, but we're
Yeah.
more into like heavier like I have a flatbed that I drive daily,
Yeah,
you know? So we're looking at stuff probably like 350s, 450s, 550s and up,
yeah,
just under CDLs, so like box trucks, not semis, because
yeah,
semis require CDLs.
yeah,
Um, but I noticed that that market didn't go totally wild because businesses were still buying, but like it wasn't like the used car market where it spiked.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
like it was a crypto, right? Like it
Right, right,
didn't
right,
there wasn't a bull run.
right.
So that's why I was curious. I was like, man, that seems like one of those markets that stays really steady. Like you probably could do a lot of business in that market without too much volatility.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, people need high utility vehicles, you know what I mean? So for whatever it is, whether it's transport, whether it's, construction, whether it's logistics, whatever it is, you know what I mean?
And I'm also imagining that with the cost of everything going up, because everybody's COGS is going up, everybody's, inflation's killing the
Mm.
dollar. There's got to be groups of like highly motivated sellers because they're
Yep.
selling off their business assets or whatever too.
100%. The opportunities are there. Like I had said before, right? Like Turo was only one space or one part of the auto community that was, getting messed up. You got plenty of people who because of the economy, because of interest rates, because of inflation, because of all of those things, and the values continuously being super volatile, whether they go super down or now we got tariffs and this stuff gonna go right back up, right? So, whatever the case, there's plenty of people who are stuck that need to get rid and they can't without bringing a lot of money to the table. Or like just on the flip side, because that's self-explanatory, right? Okay, cool, you can solve that problem. But on the flip side, there's plenty of people who just have stuff sitting around. They want certain money for it, they're not getting it. People are lowballing, 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 and they kind of have to. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
from your standpoint, those people are just as motivated in a different fashion. You can come in and pay them exactly what they want. Just educate them on how to protect it, educate them on making sure that you can make those payments for them, and just go ahead and buy it that way. No need for a bank.
Yeah, I was gonna say we see the same thing in the auto space right now is going on in the real estate space, which is that insurance right now is actually killing a lot of people.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
my commercial auto, the policy hasn't changed in 3 years. The premiums sure have though.
Mhm.
Premiums have nearly doubled, and I imagine another renewal or two, they will have doubled since I instituted that policy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's insane. I mean, the insurance industry is a whole nother conversation we can have, but yeah, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, so what did that look like for you? Like getting started, you like you said, you kind of found your footing, you found some motivated sellers, some motivated buyers. So where do you go from there? What did you start to do to build?
Well, I mean, first is just doing the deals, right? Like taking the risk, just saying, screw it. Worst that could happen is that it just doesn't work, and what I'm saying, nothing comes from it, right? You go into it, you see where the profit is, you come up with a process. So, what I did was copy what we were doing in real estate for wholesaling, right? But just tweaking a few things. So wholesale is a business, one, still need a CRM, still need outreach inbounds, you still need process of closing and that kind of thing, let alone you need the process of handling the transaction. So that's where the process came in, dealing with escrow, dealing with paperwork, dealing with notaries, dealing with money transfer, how bills are getting paid, like all of those things, you just come up with a process and then continue to test it and tweak it. So over time, it got to the space where this was just a side gig for me. And it just, all right, cool. We do a couple of deals, but then the people were just like, yo, this is amazing. This is amazing. And they kept on going. And then word of mouth gets around. You do good by people, you try to add much value, referral business will come around. So that's what continuously happened. And then over time, I think between the market itself and then just the need for a solution like this, mixed with us doing, the business and having some success kind of started to snowball. So that's where it became like, okay, cool. Now we have to really systemize this. We have to get more people on. We need some help, right? I've got Julie Daniels in line. She's one of our TCs. She's been amazing for us and helping us out, right, to continue to help us grow. So when you have people who can come in and add value to the business, that benefits the clients that we're trying to help. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, we're just setting the stage now that it's like, okay, it's a demand's big enough. Now we got a marketplace that we're going to have eventually like a phone app. Right now, it's just a web app. And there's another version coming out. We've got a whole ecosystem that's, a safer space for people to come on in and do business and, talk to each other, talk about how deals go bad or deals go well, or, what I'm saying, like the different experiences they can share. Like all of that kind of stuff is what we continuously build to give the space for people because it's a way bigger problem than us. And it's a way, way bigger problem than what we have right now. We're doing everything we can to, add value to solve it.
So walk me through how these transactions work, right? Like, let's just say I go in the top Facebook group and I'm like, hey, I got this truck. I'm kind of thinking about, you know, I don't really need it. Maybe I'm willing to do takeover payments on it. You know, what does that look like from you and I having that first conversation to close?
Yeah. So let's say you're watching this for the first time. It's possible to let your payments go and you need a place to go about it. First, always want to make sure of who the players are who can help you. So say you do join the community, say you'll get on the line with somebody like myself or, one of our team members, right? We'll come in, we'll evaluate the deal. The values of sub 200 vehicle are completely different than the value of a cash deal or a traditional deal because market value is only one component in a sub two transaction. So when you think about it, there's inherent value to you keeping the loan in your name. How much value that is, contingent on the deal. But you keeping that is a major risk inherently for yourself, and it's a benefit passed to a buyer, right? Now, everything and every bit of risk still has its numbers and ratings like that. But we'll evaluate it along with what the vehicle is, condition, mileage, year, make, model, all that kind of stuff like that. And then we'll come with a game plan to see what's best. Depending on the situation, if it's not too far underwater, then there may be some benefit where you can make something on it. If it's massively underwater, we got to come up with a different game plan. If you got equity, that's a different game plan, right? But we'll evaluate and see what makes the most sense, and then we'll walk through what the actual deal is in terms of how the paperwork is set up, how the loan stays in your name, how the title and the lender and insurance and all that stuff works, and then we'll walk through finding the right kind of buyer because that's the most important thing is who's getting it. You might as well treat your buyer like if you're in real estate, you treat a tenant. Find a good one, it's going to be a great benefit. Find a bad one, going to be very costly. You know what I'm saying? And it's no different in this same situation. So, we'll walk through that process. And then let's say you use a company like ours, where we'll do the vetting, we'll do the, the searching and the marketing and finding the right kind of buyer to bring on in. We'll go ahead and take that on and spoon feed you the best kind of buyer so that connection can be made. Ultimately, these kinds of deals require transparency. So if you're dealing with somebody that's in another state, they can't physically come to you, you're gonna need to know who they are anyway. So you still want to meet them. Zoom calls always help, or get on FaceTime or something like that, let alone just having a real conversation in front of others, in front of, an understanding as to what will happen if somebody defaults, stops paying, all those, different concerns and things like that. And then once we get through all of those, we just go ahead and execute the deal. And a lot of times, once you handle all of the stuff in the middle, you set people up for a great foundation moving forward. Because we've done business where we've made connections and matches with people who have gone on not only to just deal with the car or whatever it was attached to it, but they've gone on and made money together. They became like cool friends and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of things that can come positive from it.
So what does that valuation process look like, right? Because we're always told vehicles are depreciating assets.
Mhm.
Most are, not all are. There
Yeah.
are definitely some that are investments if they're super rare, vintage, exotic, whatever. But what does that valuation process look like? Are you guys like cross-referencing a couple different databases like Kelly Blue Book and maybe like I think NHTSA or one of the national like highway
Yeah.
safety commissions, they have their own. I know the insurance companies use. So is
Mhm.
that what you're doing to kind of to do that kind of back end work to figure out how underwater the car is?
Yeah, yeah. You always got to go on the market value or really the ACV, actual cash value, right? Figure out, determine where it stands. And then there's a private party value and there's a dealer value or trading value. So understanding what, somebody would be able to work with will help you determine where you're at. And then that's where you can find out where the loan is in relation to the market value. And then from there, like I said, you think about it from the standpoint where it's not super linear, it's more, it's a little fluid because the type of vehicle matters a lot too. So like you had mentioned, if it's super rare, if it's vintage, if it's a high utility vehicle, something like that, that will play a factor in it. Even if it's like heavily underwater, the value still continues to go up because of its use, right? And then its use can be multiplied because somebody is still keeping that loan in their name. So you don't have to qualify for it. Whereas say it's $100,000 car and that drink guy ain't got to sit on your DTI, you still have plenty of space to go out and go get something else, right? Especially if it's
Hmm.
a vehicle. Okay, if it's 10,000 underwater, so what? You know what I'm saying? Like it's not even that deep. And if you go down to get it from a dealership, you have to use your credit, and then you also have to still pay taxes and warranty. So you're still going to end up with the loan being about the same, if not more. So it all depends on the situation. That's what I mean by like there's a lot that takes into valuation. We actually have a proprietary calculator that we built with all of these factors included to help people understand like what they're actually dealing with. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm sure, and I'm sure you're probably also monitoring all the trends because we all know that certain brands definitely hold better resale value than others.
Hmm.
Whether it be like you're looking at the different truck brands, or you're looking at the different SUVs, or like you said, even utility vehicles and all that kind of good stuff. Like
Yep.
some of them just don't hold.
Yep. Yep. 100%.
I know Carly would appreciate this, but that's why I give all my Ram owners shit because they don't hold value worth a damn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's how it goes, man. That's how it goes. Shoot.
So shout out to my dad and my brother on that one.
Hmm. Hmm.
You gotta give them shit where you can.
Yep.
But so that's cool, man. So okay, so we're looking at, like I said, you're more or less you're reaching out to the seller, you're doing your own valuation through your proprietary calculator, and walk me through what are a couple of those different scenarios. Like, let's just say the car is totally underwater. Like, is there anything you can do for it?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, there are deals where we just flat out have to turn away because there's nothing that you can do, right? Um, Depending on what kind of vehicle it is, depending on its use, and then depending on how far it is underwater, will give us an idea. So let's come up with a scenario, right? Let's say it's a Honda Accord. Let's call it a 2015, and
Hmm.
that's $10,000 underwater, right? Honda Accord 2015, you're probably looking at around 8 to 11,000 dollars for the value, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Oh, 18,000 on it. Like very difficult to do something with that, right? Because the utility is low, is much older, it's 10 years at this point. And unless the seller is willing to bring a lot of money to the table, it's going to be kind of hard to, deal with that. Now we have other creative ways of, going about it as well, but um, most of the time in a situation like that, it won't be much we could do. Now, let's take the same scenario of the same amount underwater, but it's a Corvette C8 2022. And let's call it it's worth 60, they owe 75 or something like that. Right.
Hmm.
Bills around 12, 1,300 bucks a month, and interest rate, call it 6%, whatever the hell, right? In a situation like that, it's underwater. But um, for a buyer who may see the value in that vehicle or its utility or how much that they can make off of it if they want to use it as a business, so what, right? Because now you're not only allowing someone to get a Corvette without a bank, you're also saving someone from that DTI and whether they want to use it personally and they could use that as a status symbol to go get some more money, or they want to use it as a business prop to, rent out to others who want to, do it that way. Like the value that they can get off of it, that cash on cash, whether how much they have to pay down to get into it versus how much they can make on it, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Or like the
Yep.
same scenario if it's a let's call it like what we were talking about before, like say it's an F-350 dually. And the longest bet, right? Like in a situation like that, that has a shit ton of use. You know what I mean? So call it 10, 12,000, 15,000 underwater. Like you can't really go get something like that without having to have a lot of load on it on your credit. If you can get it without the credit, bro, and you can make five, six, seven, like that same truck can get you so much more money every month. Yeah, that's fine. That's a deal that still makes sense, you know?
Well, and that was actually the example I was going to use. So I drive an old truck, and I love my old truck.
Hmm.
Um, it's a 2000. It's got the old 7.3. It's got the 6 speed in it. Like
Yeah,
it's a it's a great truck. That thing will probably outlive me and the nuclear apocalypse. It'll probably be hanging out with the cockroaches and the Twinkies, in a
yeah,
warehouse somewhere.
yeah.
But so when I bought this truck, I bought it from a mechanic, and the mechanic had gotten it as payment from doing work for like an oil field company.
Hmm.
Well, they had the original sticker, Mike, was still in the glove box from the dealer. So that truck in 1999 or 2000, whenever it was bought,
Hmm.
brand new, was $23,000.
Hmm.
Now, I went just to see. I was like, let's run some comps here, right? Like, let's see if I were to select all the same options, which is pretty bare bones. It's a work truck. It's crew
Hmm.
cab, long bed, pickup, two-wheel
Hmm.
drive.
Hmm.
That same truck from a dealership now is about $78,000.
Yeah, it's insane.
So 25 years and equals out to about 4x the price of most vehicles now. And to your point, like, yeah, if let's say I did need a new truck, but I don't want to get rid of the old truck, maybe I just don't want to use my DTI or whatever. I'm probably doing that math in my head, like, cool, if I can buy another truck and I can put a two-man crew in it, we can
Mhm.
do this much more in sales. Call it, an extra 16 grand a month in sales, which will net us eight,
Right.
you know. All I
So
gotta do is call up Mike and say, "Hey, Mike, you got an F-350 flatbed, 2024 that I can get for you for probably $1,000 a month or less?"
mm,
'Cause I already did that math.
yeah, yeah. And at that point, you don't even care like where it's at underwater unless it's something egregious, right? Because at the end of the day, the business can pay for it, and the value of you having that freedom on your debt to income so that you can use it for other things like more equipment or you know what I'm saying, like down payments on other properties to get more cash for whatever it is, right? Like that's in value.
So what did that look like too, getting with the DTI for the seller? Like, how does that work? Is that something kind of like with the real estate where you can get it off and call it 12 months, 18 months?
So we have not successfully gotten DTI removed on a seller from a vehicle standpoint, solely because one of the biggest hurdles is that in order for traditionally that to work, you've got to be a dealer. So we know in real estate, um, having multiple loans, you can show that it's being serviced by somebody else or just paid really, really what they want to see is just historical payments over a amount of time, as well as some kind of lease agreement, right? To show that you're
Hmm.
responsible for it. That's the easy way to get DTI off for real estate, just for anybody watching. But for vehicles, in order to do that, the same ways typically is by a dealership, because a lot of times lenders will look at auto loans completely differently than they'll look at other loans. So it's very difficult for somebody to get it excused. We just haven't successfully done it. I'm not saying it's impossible. There's always a way, I'm sure, but they're just a lot more strict than is lender specific.
I mean, that makes sense. They do have specific FICO scores even for whether you're going to get a mortgage or you're going to get an auto loan or whatever.
Mhm.
So I guess the benefit in this case would be that DTI probably wouldn't be there for that long anyway, since auto loans are typically way shorter terms than, say, mortgages.
100%.
Because, like you said, let's say you got 5-year financing on and you're 3 years in. Well, I mean, you
Yeah,
might
yeah.
ask me to pay it off sooner if I can, but
Mhm.
ultimately you just care about getting out from underneath it.
Right. 100%.
I do think that's crazy, especially now that the inflation's driving the price of cars up so high. We're
Hmm.
seeing 7-year terms, sometimes 8-year terms at
Yeah,
dealerships. It's
yeah.
nuts.
It's insane, bro. And people just so concerned about the monthly payment, they don't think about how much they're paying. And yeah, but I mean, it is what it is. You got that. You got the mechanics of the vehicle, maintenance and stuff like that, and how much that's going to cost. Um, the depreciation, like we were talking about earlier, like how much it's going to drive down the value. Like it is a lot that goes into it. But it's another decision. You just got to be smart financially.
It's getting harder and harder to be smart financially though on cars, tell you that.
Man, I would only push back on that because we've been offset with the complexity with AI. So it's made things a lot, easy to be like, all right, you know what? Cool. This is a little too complicated for me. Let me turn on GPT, hit the deep research button, and figure it out from there. And it can at least spit a lot back to me, be like, all right, cool. I'm much more informed to make a decision. You don't want to get into analysis paralysis, but you do want to make informed decisions because it does get harder. I agree with you on that, but I would say we got no excuse now because AI is in the mix.
Yeah, that's true. And especially as long as you're doing it on used cars, you can do that deep research. Like new cars, you can't, right? New cars, a brand new 2025 Bronco comes out or a brand new 25 Ram 1500 or whatever. You don't know what the bugs are yet.
Yeah.
They don't know what the bugs are yet. They don't know
Yeah.
what the recalls are going to be.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
But probably like 22, 23, or anything older than that, yeah, you can do that deep research. You can really.
Yeah, that's a
So
fact.
yeah, that's what you're doing. You using chat to do that deep research and like what are all the bugs? What's the maybe like call it the service life of this vehicle?
Yeah, yeah, or even like general understanding of the brands themselves and the manufacturers themselves, let alone just the trends of depreciation and the trends of like maintenance costs and things like that, let alone, just normal understanding of what the loans are and what you be getting, how much total you be paying, all of that kind of stuff. Um, I don't know, it's kind of wild because not to get off topic, but AI has helped out a lot. And I think a lot of people are coming to grips that you really don't have no choice but to adapt it. It's going to get to the place where it eventually replaces us all, but I think that's going to be a few years from now. So until then, you're getting in front of it and just using it the best you can. You know what I mean? Because yeah, I mean, just having a clear understanding as to what you're doing now is a lot easier. You know?
Well, so what other ways are you able to utilize, AI with Top Method, right? Like we're talking about doing it for deep research and kind of understanding depreciation, maintenance, and things like that. But I mean, what other applications are you finding it in?
Um, I mean, there's a few. I mean, sometimes it comes down to something as simple as communication, right? So, with AI now, one of the things that we're implementing in our business is AI for communicating between clients and communicating as support. So the top method in and of itself, there's a lot that goes into the top method. Of course, there'll be like we have more trainings and things like that coming on that does go deep into all of the facets of the top method and everything. But let's say that entire database now is within an agent that can just talk to you and support you. So after we do deals and people who have, concerns or things like that, hey, what happens if, what do I do in this scenario? What do I do in that scenario? What happens if this? What happens if that? Like all of that's inside of AI, right? Or just even the idea of how to do the deals themselves, right? It just allows people to do things a lot faster and a lot more efficiently.
And what else would you say goes into that total cost when you're looking at vehicles, right? We're just talking about being financially smart.
Mhm.
Now we're seeing dealerships are extending terms out to 7, 8 years. We're seeing it now even on like cell phones, bro. I went to the
Mhm.
Verizon store and just to keep that monthly payment down, they're extending phone payments that used to be 24 months to 36 months.
Mhm.
So outside of the monthly payments, what else should people be looking into with as far as like their maintenance, repairs, things like that?
I mean, it's normal cost with any vehicle, right? Like at the end of the day, it's still a used car purchase. It's still a regular deal that you would buy. You got to look at your DMV costs. You will look at, tickets and things like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like just regular things that come with it. If once you buy, you may have to deal with emissions. You still may have to deal with unpaid taxes if that stuff hasn't gotten done yet. You may have to deal with like the transfer fees or shipping if you're going to a different state, something like that. All of those things are still going to be normal cost considerations.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you should probably call Chris too, because he he works with AI and he works on cars.
Oh, for real? That's dope, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris was a mechanic in a past life, and now he builds CRMs and go high level. In fact, he built my CRM for my small business.
Oh, fire. Fire. We had the rap, man. Shoot. And I see, yeah, Chris was talking about he does that as well in his business, using AI to, communicate, support, and things like that. And I see Tyler talking about AI is great for creating and updating SOPs. That is a fact, brother. Most of most of my company, Top Wheels, that does with the vehicles and stuff like that. And then there's just deeper research on the top method. Most of the stuff we had to do manually before AI was available. But once AI started coming out, like the exponential growth of everything that was available definitely happened with AI. So I mean, like it's 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 as an amazing tool as it is a very scary, deadly tool, but I'm more on the side of amazing and using it for as much positivity as possible. So yeah, you
Yep.
crazy.
Like I said, Chris builds out chatbots in go high level, and he's building one out for us too.
Hmm.
And Tyler and I have both used it for different teams to do our SOPs. Like
Yeah.
Loom having that simple screen record, just transcribe into an SOP has been a lifesaver.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
So what does this journey look like for you, man? Where are you looking to take this business now that, we were talking about you started it really kind of towards that end of 23 and like building this community and a group and subtuning cars. What are you looking to do with it next?
Yeah, so I want people to understand that like our goal is not solely to deal with vehicles. And we're going to be the primary resource and hub for anything creative finance vehicle related. That is already in the works, right? But I want people to understand that creative finance is accessible to everyone. I think that's one of Pace's biggest missions as he's continued to build his brand, build a community, build an understanding, like getting out there in front. He wasn't the only person doing creative finance, but he definitely like Bro, I'm from a completely different world. I had no idea of that any of this shit was even possible. You know what I'm saying? We come up in environments that like people don't even talk about real estate. People don't talk about buying stuff. Talking about money isn't even a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, like not to get the struggle story stuff, but like I've been through it. You know what I'm saying? So like coming into the space of just saying like what's actually possible is like, yo, he made it accessible for me, and I know that there's more people that look like me, talk like me that need to hear this stuff just as much, but they also need the resources to be able to do it. You know what I'm saying? So my goal is to make creative finance accessible for everybody and the everyday person. And that's why we built sellerfinance.io. So right now we have it specific for the vehicles that are available. So you can do it in any asset class, whether it's a plane, a boat, RV, a truck, a car, or whatever the case may have you. You can do transactions on there. You can learn how to do them. You can learn how to execute them. You have all of the resources. You got the TCs, got the paperwork, we have all of the different processes, escrows available, all that kind of stuff, right? But that's one of the main asset classes on seller finance. The other one is real estate, and then coming the other one is going to be business as well. It's going to be the hub and the ecosystem to be able to come in and do creative finance deals, and that is going to be our platform. We build an ecosystem for it, and that's where our trajectory is to become the standard in doing creative finance transactions for anything.
Nice, dude. That's gonna be killer.
Yep.
To have a whole platform, and then you said you're eventually gonna try to take it to a mobile app too.
Yep. Yep. We'll have it where it's super gooey, super glue. Like the second version that we already got right now, it's going to go absolutely insane. I cannot wait. Hopefully we got it ready, at least an iteration of it before squad up to show off a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a game changer for sure.
Oh man, at the rate you're going, you might be speaking at Squad Up at some point.
Man, who knows, man? You know what I'm saying? We'll make it happen. Shoot, we just keep on working.
I know, huh? I said some of the guys that we saw last year, I saw like Duran, like me and him had lunch at
Yeah.
the last Squad Up, and now he's on stage.
Yeah, yeah, real cool dude, man. We went out with Deron too last year. It was definitely a great time. Or no, not last year. We went up with Deron up in Boston. And now we're doing some work together as well. So yeah, real solid brother. And you'll see it. Like I can tell in this community, you never know who is gonna be where, you know what I'm saying? But just watching
Hmm.
anybody, man, I love seeing people win, bro. And like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? We all got that same mindset of just give and add and you know what I'm saying, continue to grow.
Oh man, he got me all riled up at lunch one day at Squad Up, and he got me on this tangent, and next thing you know, at the end of it, he looks at me, he's like, "Bro, I think I finally found somebody that drops an F-bomb more often than I do." I said, "I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna take it as a compliment."
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny as shit, man.
Dude, he's a riot.
Yeah, yeah, real solid dude, man. He's a real brother. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta respect it.
Yeah, you definitely gotta respect the hustle.
Hmm.
But man, it was like me, him, Jessica Roberts, I think Sean Mandel. We were just cutting up and shooting the shit, and they got me talking about borrowers and you know, because I'm sure you probably see this too in your world,
Hmm.
like borrowers or people that potential buyers like just don't want to do the vetting. You know, they're
Yeah,
like, I just don't want to do it. Like you should just trust me.
right. Like, come the fuck on, bro. Like, come. Yeah, we definitely deal with that a lot, and we definitely deal with that a lot. And shoot, if Julie could say so, she'll tell you just as much, right? Like the type of people that come in that expect it's just entitlement, bro. It's like I ain't gonna go there, but it's just entitlement. It's like, bro, where do you come off thinking that shit just supposed to be given to you because you showed up? And like you hear, oh yeah, I don't have to use my credit, I don't have to use this, and be like, all right, cool. So you just gonna walk in, just take it, and okay. So how about this? I got three whole Bitcoin. I've got 400 million in cash too that I could just give you too, just because you showed up. How about that? What else you want? Matter of fact, I give you my house too. You want that too? You could just,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna trust you, bro. Like, come on, man.
right. All that off a handshake, huh?
Yeah, all that off of just, hey, what's up, man? I'm a good guy, man. I'm a family man.
Yeah, Chris said he's like, I'm selling my house, so I'll sell the financing.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
What kind of stuff do y'all do on the vetting side when it comes to finding those buyers?
I mean, most of it's common sense stuff, right? Like going through financials, going through, payment history. We will look at credit history and stuff like that. We won't do like hard credit pulls or anything, but we will still look through and just make sure you ain't got nothing crazy on there. Depending on the situation, obviously we got to make sure you can afford it. You make sure that you have validity to drive, the right kind of license. Depending on the situation, we'll run a background check. We'll go through references. We'll check social proof. The things that matter. You know what I mean? And then ultimately, we actually get on the line with every single person that wants to do business. So any buyer, for sellers watching, like we do have a three-stage vetting process, and part of it is them actually get on the line with us, see face to face, see make sure we're dealing with a real person, especially on social media. People be having dogs, pictures, and cats and random things, stuff like that. So we just gotta make sure you are who you are. And we'll match up everything a lot of times depending on different business and stuff like that. If you got your business stuff in there, we'll go through that too. We don't necessarily do RMLOs just because of the cost associated with it for now, unless it's a higher ticket deal. You know what I mean? So let's say if it's something like a plane or if it's something like a larger boat or vessel or something like that, yeah, sure. Or things that are over a certain threshold. But for the smaller stuff, we just do our due diligence, and then ultimately we'll give the seller the opportunity to say yes or no too. Because for our company and our business, what we feel is the best for this kind of industry, since cars move, they're more risky. We introduce the buyers and the sellers together, so they'll always be able to meet each other, have a real conversation, make sure it's a good vibe, a good fit. The seller will get to understand, all of their background and stuff like that just as much, and then from there, a decision can be made. So there's a process to it, but the benefit for a buyer is that, yeah, you go through the vetting, but now you just saved yourself the credit, you just saved yourself some money, you just saved yourself a whole bunch of, what I'm saying, like time and things like that. So,
Do you have a rough threshold of what that looks like? Is it like 100 grand, 200 grand before you start looking like RMLOs on those ticket items?
no, it's not really a threshold yet. I mean, as time goes on, we'll get more dialed in on that, but for now, it's going to be like the more common sense high ticket stuff.
Yeah. So like you said boats, planes, bigger vessels, things that probably are in that six-figure range anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, so
That
if
makes sense.
let's say if you're doing it on like say uh a jet that we've been working on, just worth like 1.3 million. You know what I'm saying? So for a situation like that, absolutely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for certain other things, it's like, all right, this car's worth $10,000, $20,000. Like you're gonna put somebody through the ringer like that and pay all of the money to do all that kind of stuff. The deal doesn't become worth it.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. Like it is probably pretty common sense. Like,
Hmm.
once you start getting to the higher fives, like 70, 80 grand, like, yeah, maybe, but
Hmm.
definitely over six, definitely not under 60, 50, whatever.
Hmm.
So that tracks. Y'all do any vetting on the seller side?
Yeah, same thing. And a lot of times, because we have to verify the vehicle itself, make sure that they're the owner, make sure that it's up to date, make sure the payment's up to date, registration, like all that kind of stuff. Make sure the vehicle is not a lemon. If there's accident history, what's going on. And then every seller we meet just as much as we meet the buyers. So finding out why they're even doing this in the first place, what's going on in their world. We gotta make sure somebody about to go through bankruptcy or what I'm saying? Like whatever the case is, like there's a process for everything. So all of the stages on any part of a deal, we do have a process for.
Here's an interesting one I just thought of. Do y'all bird dog anything? Like if I came to you and I'm like, Mike, I'm looking for this.
Got to
Y'all
be,
go find it?
yeah, got to be worth a certain amount because there's a lot of work into it. People think that this stuff just falls from trees, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, we built the community to make it easier for people, so they didn't have to go through what I went through. Because it's very hard to find deals. You know what I'm saying? Like especially for
Yeah.
what specifically what you're trying to get is like people be like, "Yeah, Mike, do you got a Lambo, yours?" And I'm like, all right, so they do exist. One, mind you, Lambo Urus is actually a lot more common, so that's probably a bad idea. Let's say like a Ferrari, like some kind of Spider or something like that, right? And they're like, "Yeah, Mike, I need you to go ahead and find that for me real quick." And it's like, first, I got to make sure this buyer is actually serious because if we do the work to go find it, which is already hard enough in and of itself to get somebody to say, yeah, who doesn't know me at all, then we bring them to you. And so I'm not going to be the person that they're trusting me. Now they're going to trust somebody else. And then you don't show up, like that's going to be a huge problem and a waste of time. So for the idea of bird dogging and stuff like that, like we have to make sure we're super locked in with any buyer that we would do it with. And we're not going to do it for lower ticket items, just to be frank, because the stuff has to be
Hmm.
worth. You know what I mean? So for somebody asking, hey, can you find me a Honda Accord? Like, no, I'll show you how you can find one, right? But we're not gonna go do it for you.
Yeah.
If we have it, then we'll gladly, you know what I'm saying, like give it, right? Because we do get a lot of vehicles that come in, like a lot. So there's always going to be some kind of selection, but there's a huge range. So we might not have the perfect color, it might not be the perfect mileage, you know what I'm saying? But it'll be exactly what you're looking for, and you can go that way. But outside of that, we just teach people how to go do it themselves. So I like to teach a man to fish, so he can feed himself for life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally could see that. I'm guessing that threshold is probably just as fluid as the RMLO process, right? It's like the bird dog it, like it's gotta make sense. It's gotta be pretty common.
Yeah.
What is probably one of the craziest vehicle you did top method on?
Um, Craziest vehicle. Um, there's been interesting deals. I'm trying to figure out a crazy deal. Um, this is something that we're still working on. I would probably say now as far as like crazy, like complicated. We're using two vehicles with the top method to knock off some equity on a property that somebody else originally, the original deal was we were called in to supply some vehicles to help someone else get a better deal on a property they were buying sub to. So the sub to seller for the property wanted a certain amount. He was willing to knock off like, you know, 40 or $50,000 in equity in exchange for giving or getting a couple of vehicles sub to. He wanted a 2500 caliber truck and a camper because he was going to live in it, you know, do that kind of thing after he sold. So he was going to sell sub to and then buy sub to or top, whatever the case. So that kind of situation, coordinating like all of those, because then you have to coordinate two different sellers, right? Two different vehicles, and you know, coordinate the situation with the sellers on the properties and making sure that the people in the middle all take care of. Like it's a lot of coordination. So that I would probably say is the craziest. And we're still working through it. But you know, like everything's all a contract and stuff like that, but it's still like there's a process to it. There's a lot of things that go up and down. When that's done, that's gonna be a crazy ass story. I ain't gonna hold you. But we've
Yeah.
done I mean like from exotics to regulars. I've done Porsche, McLaren, um, Bentleys, you know, S560, stuff like that, down to, you know, regular Beams, Mercedes, you know, whatever the case is in between to, you know, your regular stuff to um Class A RVs to campers to the whole nine. Yeah. Yeah. All kinds of shit.
Sounds like in the what's it been like 2 years, 3 years that you've been doing it? You've seen most everything.
Yeah, I've seen most everything. I mean, I ain't gonna say I've seen literally everything. There's still some stuff that we are discovering and uncovering, and you know, as we do, we'll continue to share it. But yeah, I've seen a lot of scenarios, man. I've seen the scammers. I've seen the bullshitters. I've seen the people that go on default. I've seen the worst case scenarios that people are always, you know, scared of, whatever the case is, right? When you do hundreds of deals, you're gonna eventually run into all of these different things. So, I've seen them. I've seen uh like how to have things resolved and you know see situations where people had to call lawyers and stuff like that. Like we've seen, you know, pretty much everything. So um
How many deals do you think you've done on cars so far? Just rough.
yeah, right now we're probably at about 140-ish, something like that. Yeah, 100, somewhere in that realm.
Well, Chris said he's got three for you if you want them.
That's work. Chris, you got my got my line, man. Oh, you said low end but simple cash deals. Um, yeah, I mean, we'll take a look at it. We typically avoid cash stuff, but you know, depending on the situation, we may be able to be a resource for you in a different way too. I'll drop my number in the side chat.
So talk about that, Mike. Like, we were talking about one of the things that we had said before the recording we were going to talk about is building the business. So like what did that look like for you kind of going from 0 cars to like a handful of cars to 140 deals?
Yeah, I would say just momentum, consistency, and like, or rather, I'd say consistency first. Consistency, then momentum, um, then being comfortable with failing forward and being comfortable with um bouncing back when you fail. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, cool, boom, we got knocked down. All right, boom, cool, we got, you know, a bad customer review or, you know, a bad situation here. And just continuously working the right wrongs, continuously working to, you know, keep it going and treating it just like any other business will be treated, right? And I would say, especially for me, I'm gonna say it again, like I said it before, like we wouldn't be where we're at without the community, specifically the sub two community, because this kind of space allows for business owners to try shit, test shit, and be able to fail and be able to be encouraged to keep going. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't tell you how many people I've been able to lean on inside of the community that just been like, nah, it's all good, Mike, just keep on going. Or like, all right, cool, yeah, you messed up. You gotta own it, but you gotta keep on going. You know what I'm saying? And just having that encouragement, you know, to continue to expand, continue to use everything that you have to build, you know what I mean? And like have that space to continue to try until it works. And then when it does work, you get the encouragement to keep on going. And it's like, all right, cool, just keep on going. You know what I'm saying? And then that allows for like expanding your mind. You know what I'm saying? And especially as a visionary, where you just start thinking of a whole lot of shit, it's like, all right, I can zero in on this or zero in on that, and then expand that. And then whatever comes to your mind, you just keep on building on it. So that's just business building. You know what I mean?
Oh, I bet. I bet like that proprietary calculator would have helped out a lot those first couple of deals, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It would have. It definitely would have. But I think even with the calculator now is like it helps us more level people's minds in terms of what they think they can get or what they think they should have to pay, right? But I mean, even in the beginning, like more so, it was like leveling the understanding of real estate to auto for a lot of clients, and then for the clients who had no damn clue what the hell any of this stuff was. Like those were the ones that we really sat down and really taught and really, level with. And I would sit on the phone for sometimes hours with potential clients just to tell them everything. Like we ain't hiding shits, right? So like part of what this is that makes this decent space to transact in is like, yo, ain't no cut cards, man. Like, look, this is what it is, this is what it ain't. Like, there's risk involved, absolutely. You know what I mean? But here's how you mitigate your risk. Here's how go about it to protect yourself. And if it's a fit for you, great. If it's not, cool. You have other options. But just having that kind of mindset and kind of space, I think really help like incubate what we're doing. Because when you apply that principle of transparency rather than just being a traditional broker or a traditional wholesale, like, so I got to protect my fee. I'm trying to make $1 million on this deal while everybody else making 10,000 a piece, right? Like that kind of thought process is like, it may work for some. I ain't knocking nobody hustle, but like is not necessarily sustainable for growth from an industry standpoint. I think one of the things that I'm more focused on than the money up front is the amount of people that we can help and affect with this. Because this is a problem the whole country has. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. I mean, right now, like I said, with everything being the way it is, credit card utilization's up at an all-time high, credit card defaults are at an all-time high. Um, Vehicle interest rates are pretty much at an all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
Vehicle defaults and repossessions are at an all-time high. So like this is going to end up solving a much, much bigger problem that most people don't even realize is a problem yet.
Yep. 100%. 100%. That's what we anticipate. And that's why we try to position ourselves to be that resource. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I know you've already become a big resource in the community because anybody asks anything about cars, they're like, just talk to Mike, talk to Mike, talk to Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And we love that and appreciate that. Like I said, that's another thing about community, right? Like there's always a guy for something or a girl for something, right? So if you got, such and such as the go-to person for TC, or this person's the go-to person for notes, or this person's the go-to person for novations, or whatever's going on, right? Being blessed with the opportunity to, put myself in that position and also, be boosted in that position is like, like I said, community, bro. Community.
Yeah, dude, it's killer, and it's been a huge boost for I think for a lot of people. Like you said, you could be the cars guy. Chris is doing. I know Chris specializes in CRMs. Tyler specializes in innovations.
Hmm.
So it's just going out there, building that brand, building that reputation for yourself.
Hmm.
Shifting gears a little bit though, what's some of those you talked about, like becoming that entrepreneur, going from the W-2 to the 1099 to the solo. Like,
Hmm.
what are some of those different habits and disciplines that you had to build that really like kind of changed your perspective?
Yeah, it's a good question, bro. I think the first thing is mindset, of course. I think that being programmed to work for someone else is not a bad thing, but because it has a purpose, but there's a set of habits, a set of ways that you view yourself when you get up in the mirror every day. There's a certain way that you view your relationships with people and how you interact with people and how you view your life when you're programmed to think, okay, I just have to get up and I'm gonna be accountable to somebody else. And like having to change that mindset to, okay, I got to get up and be accountable to myself because I can't answer to nobody. So I have to answer to my conscience, which is really God telling me what I need to do anyway. And this is for anybody, whether you work with somebody or whether you work for yourself. But that voice is way louder when you gotta go for yourself because you gotta eat, you know what I'm saying? And like if you don't eat and you have other people who are dependent on you, they don't eat too. So then it becomes, much more. So your habits changing, like that was the biggest thing for me because I had to think different. So I had to change the habit of the way I thought, to change the habit of the way that I thought about myself, the way I thought about why I'm doing this, why I would want to, chase something like this, who I'm going to either benefit or who I would hurt by not achieving what it is that I set out. You know what I'm saying? And who would suffer and, where your line would suffer, where your community would suffer because you're not giving the gifts that was given to you. Because you can't just listen to somebody else tell you to do something. You gotta go do that shit yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was that was where it started. And then just not having that kind of fixed mindset of like, this is just what it is. But like, all right, cool. I don't know it yet. I can get it. I can learn it. Just gonna take a little bit of time and discipline. All right, cool. I don't have that skill yet. I can grab that. I just gonna take a little bit of time and discipline, right? Like even like podcasting and stuff like that. Like, like which you're a clear example of that, right? This is episode 42, right? Or 43. So it's like you clearly be like, all right, you know what? I don't know if I'm gonna be good with this or not, but fuck it. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the camera and bring on some people, bring on some guests, and I'm gonna continue to add value. I'm gonna ask introspective questions. I'm gonna figure shit out, what's going on with them, so I can benefit and other people can benefit. And you've done it consistently. When you first started, you had no idea what you was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody
Bro, I
else.
was scared shitless. You kidding me? Like I remember I was probably like 16 the first time somebody handed me a microphone and told me to get on stage.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Which is chills too, because you got it early, so that's definitely what's up. But like, for a lot of people, like for me, I'm like, all right, cool, I get on camera and start talking all that shit like that. It's like, well, I knew I was trash when I was gonna start, but it's like, all right, I will eventually get good at this. I'm gonna eventually get
Hmm.
good at public speaking. I'm gonna eventually get good at it because the mindset shit is like you just gotta grow. You're gonna fail a few times. People gonna be clowning you for how you talk or clowning you for, you know what I'm saying, the way you look. Whatever. That's cool. You're gonna keep on going. And then
Oh yeah.
the same people are just gonna be entertained by you working hard. And I think that was one of the best quotes I think I ever heard. And I don't know who came up with it, but I'm gonna shout my man Kesson out because I saw him talk about it. He made some post something like that. Um, where he was like, people are entertained by other people working hard. And when you really think
Hmm.
about it, like the book Mindset talks about, and it was written by Carol Asbeck. For anybody that wants to read it, that was a book that definitely um changed my life, you know what I'm saying, in terms of the way I was thinking. Fixed mindset and growth mindset. But she would talk about people who had a growth mindset, they just continue to improve. Even if it was just a little bit, they just continue to improve. They never bought that they were just who they are. Or they never bought that, oh, that person's just talented and I'll never be able to do X, Y, Z. They just are who they are.
Hmm.
And for her to explain the differences with the growth mindset of people like Jordan or Steve Jobs or, all these kind of people or Kobe. Like Jordan, contrary to popular belief, I know everybody thinks he's the greatest basketball player of all time, and that's fine. That's a debate for another day. But he got cut from high school, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't like the first pick in the draft. Like it's like there's things that when you think about it, like he is the quintessential model for a growth mindset. Probably the
Well, I was gonna say that here's the debate, Mike. It's Michael is the best player, or you're wrong.
right, no facts. But it's
Especially
fine.
if you read have you read Relentless? Like have you read Grover's books?
Nah,
You should.
okay,
Tim Tim S. Grover was Michael and Kobe and Dwayne Wade's trainer.
okay,
And he goes really deep into the mindset.
yeah,
And I think you're gonna love it. Relentless is the first one, which is more about Michael, and Winning is the second one, which is more about Kobe.
got you. Okay, now I'm gonna definitely check that out. I appreciate that, relentless. All right,
And one of the things I like that Grover talks about a lot is that both of them, they had to switch to that mindset of like, yeah, I'm accountable to myself.
hmm
But they also hold themselves accountable to a lot of other people,
right,
which is how I look at it. Like in my small business, like I'm not accountable just to myself. Because if I was only accountable to myself, I could easily let myself go and be like, whatever.
yep,
But I'm accountable to each individual customer. Like those are the people that are over me. Because if I don't deliver on the highest fucking standard, then I'm letting myself down.
facts. Now you letting them down.
Right.
Hmm
Right? Like the last thing I wanna do, I might be okay with letting myself down depending on where I'm at or what day I wake up, right? But I sure shit I ain't letting Mike down. Ain't no way.
Right, right.
So, well, that's why, like, in my small business, we deliver on a level of service that some people are even like, "Bro, you don't have to do that." And I'm like, "It doesn't matter, bro. It's part like, that's part of your package."
Hmm.
Like, whether you want me to do it or not, like, guess
Yes,
what? We
sir.
do the debris cleanup. We do the individual, like, we tidy up all the little details that you hadn't thought of yet.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And that's how you're supposed to do it. You know what I mean? And like you said, just having that mindset of you are accountable to other people, that's what drives. And that kind of habit shift, like I said, that was the most important seed for me, physically speaking. You know what I'm saying? That was the most important seed for real.
Yeah, it looks like Chris read Grover too, because I've probably read Relentless 7 times, and I still get something new out of it every time.
Right. Right, yeah, but now I'm adding that to the Audible. So I know that for sure.
Yeah, man, he talks about the difference between he calls there's coolers, closers, and cleaners.
Mhm,
And the way he describes it, like your coolers are just the entourage, right? Like that's the people that they're hot only if you're hot. And the closers are the ones that can be clutch and they can come in and they can like close a deal or they can shoot a winning shot every once in a while, like when it's to their benefit or to their favor.
mhm.
And then the cleaners are just the ones that wipe the fucking floor with everybody because
Yeah,
they turn it on, right?
y-
Like Michael turned it on.
yeah, yeah. Same shit, like same shit with Kobe. And I mean, I think ultimately we want to like I think we say we want to be there. We want to be in that space. But like, are we willing to sacrifice and do the work that it takes to get there? And that's where that quote that I was saying, was like we're entertained by people working hard because like all Mike did was just work his ass off. All Kobe did was just work
Hmm.
his ass. All Steve Jobs did was work his ass off. All we're watching right now, Elon Musk do is work his ass off. He sleep in the factory. People hate him because he's got, stuff in the administration now and doing all that stuff like that. Who cares what your political joint is? They're in tabloids because all they do is fucking work. You know what I'm saying? Like they work and we're
Right.
sitting here being entertained, whether we're emboldened by them and inspired by them, or whether we're like annoyed by them or we're terrorized by it, whatever the case is, like all people are doing is just, all right, cool. I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to go balls to the wall with it, along with the self-improvement, along with the understanding of different habits, along with being held accountable to myself and others and doing these different things. And then I get into the position of where, you know what I mean? Do what you need to do. So, you know,
My favorite example of Michael was he was in the game and they were down by a lot, and it was like the start of the fourth, and somebody like was taunting him. I want to say he was in Canada, like he might have been playing in Toronto,
yeah,
and they were taunting him, and he looked at the guy and said, you should have let that sleeping dog lie," and that
yeah,
was it. It
yeah,
was just sick, 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 sick. Like,
yeah.
but
That's how,
yeah, man, I actually did read. I read Mindset too. That's a really good one. That Tom Billy put me on that.
yeah, yeah. I mess with Tom too. I mess with y'all. Cool dude.
Yeah, man. What other kind of books and resources have you gone through that you really like that, for people that are listening for the first time, maybe they're just starting out?
Yeah. Power Habit, Atomic Habits, um, the Go Giver mentality, um, just something that immediately come to mind. Of course, 48 Laws of Power, How to Win Friends, Influence People, the normal stuff. But I would say two, because like one book I'm reading right now is by Earn Your Leisure, Rashad Bilal, and I forget the other brother's name right now. His name's not getting to me, but it's a book called You Deserve to Be Rich. Um, And it's just especially for folks in my culture is like we don't we don't adopt the idea of prosperity as much in our times now because of whether it's systemic or whether it's just at the home, and you know what I'm saying, people not instilling certain types of values and habits and things like that because now we grew up around what we used to. So we automatically put a ceiling on our own mindset. You get what I'm saying? And it's just like
Hmm.
having that kind of space where it's like, all right, yo, like you deserve to understand how credit works. You deserve to understand how, finances work, how investment works, how all of these different things work. You deserve to learn how to understand how to create better habits for yourself so you can move around. You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like I enjoy reads that are, really centered around self-improvement and centered around, things that help me be of value to other people. You know what I mean? Just by being my best self.
Yeah, and I think the coolest part is once you've been doing that for a certain amount of time, like
Hmm.
I remember I connected with somebody in JJ's group,
Hmm.
and we were talking about things like this, like about having like that level of ownership and accountability and like responsibility and standards and all that. And he was
Mhm.
like, "Bro, you say that like it's common knowledge." And I was like, "It's not." You
Yeah,
know? And he was like, "Nah, bro." He's like, "You just talk like this is like how it's supposed to be." And I said, "Yeah, 'cause that is how it's supposed to be, right?" Like, to your point,
right.
it's a standard across cultures even. Like, I wasn't taught any of the shit in home either, you know?
Mhm.
Bro, I wrecked my credit with student loans
Yeah, yeah,
and still dropped out,
yeah.
you know?
Mm,
Like, but me and you were here, like, as a testament to that, that we're out here just like, "Bro, I'm just gonna get it. I don't give a shit what it takes, like, I'm just gonna
right,
get it."
right. Facts. 100%. And it's like that's where that self accountability comes in because that's not necessarily specific to any race, any part of the world, anything. It's like, that's an individual and personal, conversation that you gotta have with your maker. You know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
are you going to blame outside? Are you going to blame circumstance? Or are you going to just take accountability and blame you and be like, all right, cool. Now that you know what the problem is, that man in the mirror, you know what I'm saying? And then you be like, all right, cool, let's go ahead and get it.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere recently that the summation of masculinity is accepting responsibility for everything around you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
And also that adventure is the accepting of responsibility. Like that's literally what like all of the story stuff that been told for thousands of years, that's all it is. It's just people accepting responsibility for a thing that wasn't really their problem, but going out and trying to find a solution.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, and that's definitely real. That's definitely real.
And at the end of the day, that's the summation of any business, whether it's small, medium, or large, right? Like I found a hole in the market. I decided to fix it. You
Mm,
found a hole in the market. You're deciding to fix it.
mhm. 100%. And it's like you see people's plight. I get joy out of seeing people win. So I get joy out of like, all right, boom, we saw this problem. And they like, man, this was so amazing. You helped me out so much. Da, 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 I appreciate it. Knowing that it's like, all right, cool. It's one thing to have like a positive review. It's another thing to see where that decision that you help somebody make reverberates in their life and they avoided unfavorable circumstance had they, not done it. You know what I'm saying? So like
Oh yeah.
the small impacts in people that they otherwise wouldn't have known. You know what I'm saying? And I take it from the standpoint it's not like we need our phones, right? But like the
Mhm.
phone industry now is common knowledge. Like everybody is kind of aware of it. So you come in and you solve a problem in that space. Okay, cool. It's pretty common. But when you're able to come into spaces where it's not as known or not as understood, like a creative finance, right? So coming into the space of helping people in their housing situations where a traditional system does not serve them anymore. And you can come in and help them be like, hey, check this out. Instead of you doing that, let me teach you what they're doing so you can do it yourself like that, and then having them have success with it, it's crazy. Like I think about, I've even had like personal friends that I've helped out years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like sell their houses and sell them sub to whatever the case is. And they're just regular people who don't ain't no part of none of this stuff. And at first they're like, oh, who knows, right? But then you know their situation, you know this is the best fit for them, and they don't even know how to understand it. So you painstakingly take time with them, explain it to them because you care about them, that kind of thing. They make the decision. Years go by, and now they're realizing the benefit. Of like, yeah, that was actually the right decision. You was right about that, and seeing it in their real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get a kick out of that, man.
Well, and then I think, like you said, like that testimony as a business owner is what keeps you going, and it makes all those nights, all those like blood, sweat, tears, it
Hmm.
makes it all worth it. You
Yeah.
know, I know for me that's what it was. Like I have stories I could tell you all about. Running orders through hurricanes and overnight and
Hmm.
rushing stuff and doing whatever and cuts and scrapes and bruises the whole bit. Like I've got literal blood in this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to get that, like, man, you really saved me. You really helped me with whether it was like this big event we got coming up or whatever. Like it makes it so much more worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Definitely does.
And I'm guessing in your case, you're probably saving people sometimes thousands of dollars or helping them expand their business or, like you said, maybe it's just a common penalty box buyer that they just don't fit what the bank wants to see for, you know, that new SUV loan that they need for the family or whatever.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. We could definitely be that. People who are expanding their families need something bigger. when they're trying to close on a house because they're trying to expand their family. So they really can't, do it, but they need the same thing at the same time. Boom. They'll be able to qualify at least otherwise, but this gives them a solution to go ahead and say, you know what, we don't even have to do that. We can do this. And then they might even get an interest rate that's way better than what they would get from a bank anyway. So
Yeah, you might need some guy like Tyler who's got so many kids that he's gonna need a passenger van soon.
yeah,
He,
man.
he might be coming to bike real soon.
I already told Mike I need one of those Mercedes Sprinter vans pretty soon.
Man. Yeah, man.
I told Monica, don't do that, bro. You don't need that high top on the going over that bridge.
Yeah, you're right.
Get you something with a lower top that can handle the wind.
I was on your website earlier, Mike, looking at no. We got a bunch of kids and another one on the way, so or maybe one day on the way.
No, that's love, man. That's love. We'll be here when you're ready.
Yeah. I just called that lead too. Remember that little lead we're working on that I think it was a Optima or something like that.
What
Um,
happened?
she actually let the bank take it.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, she let the bank take it. I was on this meeting and I was like, let me call that seller back of that car because my brother-in-law he's a car salesman and I've been
Yeah.
trying to link y'all up. I don't know if he's ever reached out to you.
Nah. I haven't heard from him.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna tell him to call you. He sees it all the time. He sees low equity stuff, and I'm like, man, you need to get with Mike and y'all go work something out,
Hmm.
and try to work some deals out. But yes, sir. I'll be looking for something pretty soon, something bigger,
Yeah, it's a bet, bro. Like I said, whenever you're ready, we'll be here.
and I'd love to get it sub to. How does the insurance work on these types of deals?
That's straightforward, man. I mean, you think about it like a regular car rental. Some companies will allow you to get your own insurance and use that, or they'll offer insurance. With this, with sub-touring vehicles, you're gonna get your own insurance regardless. But you're set up so that the seller has to be a part of the policy and their lender. So it's set up for long-term use. As long as it's set up a certain kind of way, we go through insurance verification. So any of the binders that we get, send them over to the lender to make sure the lender's notified there's new insurance. But the lenders don't really give a shit who's on the policy as long as the registered owner is a part and as long as they get their money. So set it
Gotcha,
up right, you'll be good to go from there.
gotcha. Okay, yeah, that was my biggest thing, figuring
Mhm.
out the insurance. I didn't know if you just kept, but you just get your own policy, and that'd be it.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, you can add yourself to a seller's joint, but convincing a seller that you don't know to do that is another
Yeah,
ballgame.
that's tough. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hear you.
Plus,
Unless,
you're dropping
So,
down just like theirs.
so it
yeah,
probably is always smarter to come in with as a buyer with your own policy and just add the seller to it.
Mhm.
yeah.
That's good to know. So it's not like in the real estate space, right, where you go get that new policy. If you don't set it up right, you could easily trigger the due on sale clause.
Mhm.
In general, it sounds
Yeah.
like the auto lenders don't really care.
Well, no. They do care if it's not set up right because they'll notify the seller and be like, yo, like, where's the insurance at? Especially if the seller cancels their insurance. So a buyer can get a policy, but if it ain't right, a seller can cancel their policy and the insurance company don't even know. So then they're gonna hit the seller. Or if it's not set up properly, and let's say the registration isn't moved over and went to a different state, some states will suspend your license or fine you for not having insurance in a registered state. So there's like, crux and specifics and stuff like that. It's a whole other world of conversation on like how to make.
Louisiana does that actually.
Yeah, Florida does that. New York does that. There's a few states that will, that if you
It's like
don't,
a $600 fine if you don't have insurance on your car.
yeah, Florida will suspend your license and fine you. So there's a bunch of different, things that go around. But um, like I said, this was the part of continuously doing deals and then learning and going around the country and seeing this stuff. And yeah, every place has their differences, but you know,
Well, that's
Yeah,
why you always got to have a good TC on board, handle all that fun stuff.
you know what I'm saying? Just make it
That's
easy.
is that what they help with the insurance and post close, like setting all that up?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah, I hate dealing with all that.
yeah. It's extra craziness. But so we leave it to the folks who's good at it.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, sir.
that's what we were talking about yesterday at our meetup. Tyler's also on my NOLB team, so I'm the operator, he's the coach.
Oh,
And he
nice.
was like, "Hey, you're an operator. Do you know another operator?" And I was like, "Dumbass, I'm right here." Like, what you mean?
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, we give each other shit. It's a good time.
Hmm.
So what's on the agenda next for Mike? I know, like you said, you're growing Seller Finance.io.
Mhm.
What other big projects you got coming up?
Um, I mean, business wise, that's the primary focus is the ecosystem of, creative finance and marketplace, our business growing, being more visible. Personally, I'm looking to buy more property. You know what I'm saying? I want to get more opportunities for co-living and solve that problem while, growing our wealth and things like that too. So that's my primary focuses right now. And then, just being, better friend, better son, better father, well, not eventually a father. And those kind of things, bro. About it.
Oh man, you seem like you're crushing it up to this point, so I have no doubt you're gonna continue to do that.
Yeah, yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate it.
And you're going to squad up?
Hell yeah.
All right, we'll see you over there.
Yeah, I'll be there on Thursday morning because they got a co-living meetup. Um,
Okay.
going on Thursday, and then yeah, I'll be in the mix. I'll be there till what, Tuesday?
Okay. Awesome. Were you looking for co-living deals just wherever?
Not necessarily wherever in Maryland primarily, and in Southern California is really what I focused on.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, we're mainly doing deals in the South, just
Hmm.
Texas, Louisiana, Alabama.
Yeah, you in New Orleans?
Yeah, I'm in New Orleans. That's where I primarily do all my business.
Okay, you from New Orleans?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
504 home buyers. That's my business.
504. That's chills, man. I got a lot of friends that's from New Orleans. One of my
Yeah.
one
Well,
of
bro,
my
me and him run the meetup, so come on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's chills. I remember it was crazy. Last time we went down to New Orleans, one of my homeboys, he's from the Ninth Ward, and it was actually a few of us from like the Seventh Ward and Ninth Ward. We was all gonna go down there, but it was a hurricane. This was, I think, 3 or 4 years. It was a
Was it
hurricane.
okay? Ida, maybe? I
It,
don't know.
it, it might have been. I don't remember the name, but I do remember we had already planned to go, and the day before we were supposed to fly out. And it was a time crunch too, because it wasn't really the day. It was like 12 or 10 hours or something like that before we were supposed to fly out. And
Yeah.
they started saying like, oh yeah, it's gonna get real bad, it's gonna get real bad, whatever the case was. So two of the oh no, three of the homies had dropped out. And so me and my homie, I was like, man, because I really wanted to go down there for the it wasn't Mardi Gras at that time, but it was just, New Orleans culture, the food, all that kind of stuff like that. And
Yeah.
we was gonna go down there. It was already too late to cancel without them having to, pay because I thought dumbass didn't get insurance. So we was like, all right, screw it. We were gonna play it by ear. Man, as soon as we got down there, like we saw like coming out of the airport, it was nothing but um cars lined up to the oil shops and the gas stations
Oh,
and everything. It was like, ah, so we ended up calling, calling back the Dogo Airlines, and we stayed pretty much like the night, but the next morning when it right before it started super intensifying, we left at like 4 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, got on the airplane right before the drink took off.
yeah.
Yeah, so that was my experience in New Orleans. I still ain't really, saying got in the mix. We ate a little bit and tapped in with a few people, but it wasn't nothing crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it could have went either direction, you never know with
Yeah.
those hurricanes, but yeah, you're gonna have to come hang out one day.
Yeah, me and
Definitely
him on other
always have
sides of
stuff
the
to do.
GNO. So
Yep.
I'm by the airport. He's by the Naval Air Base.
All
Yep.
right.
But
Yeah,
we
yeah,
run the
shit,
meetup every third Friday, bro.
all right. That's what I'm saying. Next time I'm down there, definitely got to tap in, man, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Let us know when you come down.
Mm-hmm. We'll
We'll
do.
go find some cars for you sub too.
Where are you from?
I'm from Baltimore.
Okay. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah, man. I like folks from New Orleans though, man. Love the Southern hospitality.
Hey, I was boiling crawfish. I still got my pot right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
But I say the crawfish and the gumbo, that joint be smacking.
You bastard, you didn't tell me about that.
I did tell you for Mardi Gras Day, we boiled
Oh
crawfish at
yeah,
my
yeah. I thought
house.
you were talking about
I
today.
invited you.
I thought you were talking about today.
No, not today. I still have it out. I'm still washing it and letting it sit until I feel like picking it up.
Yeah, yeah. Mardi Gras Day, we had bad weather. Yesterday for our meetup, we had bad weather.
Oh damn.
We just we're just a
You just
magnet
never
for
know
it.
which
But
direction it's gonna go. It says tornadoes about to hit, and then the next minute it's nice and sunny. So it's
Yeah.
like we never know what's about to happen. So we just do it anyway, kind of like you did coming down here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We definitely winged it, but it is what it is. That'll be a next time.
That's why I drive a big truck, man. Like I would be driving through the city, and these people, these little Honda Civics, they end up swamped out in the middle of their engine got hydrolocked or whatever because they sucked up too much water. Just
Mm.
drive right around them.
Yeah.
But like to your point, Mike, when we were talking about business and stuff, like that's one of the things that we do is we try to implement some form of like a charity component, and usually it's around disaster relief. And so like, because even when I didn't have shit, right, like people were still trying to give us like food and whatever. So we would loan out, manpower, chainsaws to cut trees, clear roads, the truck, trailer, whatever we had. We would just we would just send it out there for free, like cover the fuel, make it, so we're not coming out of pocket, but whatever we could do to help the affected areas, we did. And I helped set up a couple man camps actually for Ida.
That's
We
love.
set up a camp over there in Laplace, which is where one of the big areas that was affected, and then we moved them down on the coast where those people they didn't get power for like 2 months.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that's love. Y'all helped them out like that, man. That's what's up.
Yeah, man, that's what we do usually after every one. I work with a lot of the insurance guys that call me because when there's no power, they gotta cook over something, so they'll cook over wood usually.
Mhm.
And a lot of them insurance guys, actually, one of the orders I got this week is for an insurance claims adjuster, and they have a towable pizza oven. So he'll order all this wood, I'll load up his trailer for him, and then they'll go places where they're affected by storms, and they'll actually throw the wood in the oven, light the oven, and they'll cook pizzas right there for people while they're filing their claims.
That's chill. That's chill. That's what's up.
Yeah, man. Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do to keep the community alive, and just like our virtual community that helps us out,
Hmm.
we gotta give back to our local community too.
Yeah, yeah. The amount of lives that y'all affected that day, you definitely made a lot of people's days. So that's what's up.
Yeah, there's a few of them that come through and they do stuff like that. They'll have like their smokers and they'll cook for the first responders or they'll cook for people that don't have anything. And a
Hmm.
lot of times we'll just go drop stuff off and they're like, how much I owe you? I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm like, what you mean? Like, nah, you heard me. Like, don't worry about it.
Hmm.
Or, throw me like 50 bucks, 100 bucks, like call it good. Like it'll easily be four, five, $600 worth of wood. Like just 100 bucks, you know, close
Yeah,
out the fuel tab, like
yeah,
call it even.
yeah. Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's definitely what's up. That's some synergy right there.
What you gotta do, man. Like I said, that's how we built those relationships. It's keeping those high standards, but it's also like knowing when to kind of give back.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So like you said, so seller finance, that's the next big ticket item on the map.
Hmm.
Um, any other immediate projects you got coming up?
Nah, man. I mean, like I said,
Just
this is our
just just co-living
yeah, 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 yeah. Primarily, so I mean, for me, it's uh, I'm looking to expand my game. I do want to eventually get into multifamily and stuff like that, but I want to get my feet wet in the co-living space. I think is a great opportunity, and then just continuing, to build the business. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm focused on, man. I'm locked in.
Why don't you talk to us a little bit? We were talking earlier about arbitraging the vehicles. Is that something you still think about doing, like with the Uber, DoorDash companies that are renting out to those kind of markets?
Yeah, I mean that's an opportunity for, let's say, if I just want to keep some of the vehicles and then rent them out myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I can give them to a company that does it rather than me having to do the work. That's definitely an opportunity there. But just thinking of other ways to monetize the vehicles outside of just, providing the service to connect people. Um, but
And or doing like Turo, because I know you don't want to manage a fleet.
Nope, not at all. And we help out a lot of people with Turo, some to grow their fleets, and a lot of people to exit Turo altogether. So um,
Yep.
for me, like I have too much inadvertent experience, with Turo, let alone even during the pandemic. I talked to people when the cars were being rented out for absolute dirt cheap. I took advantage
Yep.
and just rented out a bunch of cars that I always wanted to drive because it was cheap as hell. So it was just
Yeah.
like, what I'm saying, trying them out. And then I remember this one particular person down around Marina Del Rey. Um, not too far from the airport, and he had a garage of like, because he had some agreement with the garage. I think it was like a hotel or some extension or whatever. The garage was huge. Long story short, he parked all of his cars on the top two levels. The level right below the top level was a lot of the exotics. So he had like Lamborghinis, McLarens, G Wagon, and stuff like that there. And on the top level was all of the rest of the stuff. And getting to talking to the guy, um, he was like burnt out. Like, and I would ask him like, yo, how did you get all these cars? He was, he keep financing and having relationships and things like that. But he was like, yo, the amount of work that it was for him to do that stuff. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. But
Yeah.
he was like one of the he's in the top 1% of Turo hosts, at the time. And I'm sure probably by this time they got like 400 or 500 cars or something. But I talked to a few hosts who have like hundreds of cars. I'm good. I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, one of the guys that I got close to at last Squad Up Summit that you
Mhm.
probably know from the top community is Judah, the
Yeah,
Vilbis.
yeah, yeah. That's my guy. Yep.
Yeah. Me and him did a podcast episode, I think either right before or right after.
Hmm.
And I always see him in the top community. Like he had that Cybertruck he was trying to more or
Yeah.
less dispo for forever.
Yeah. Now he's actually done a few Cybertrucks. He's done a few deals. Real solid.
But yeah, he was telling me about that, like getting in the Toro. He was like, yeah, I got burned out on that real fast.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm good.
It, it's a good market. Like I had a work truck I used to rent from a guy that lived up the street from me on Toro, until that truck aged out and then he just sold it.
Hmm.
And now there's no real work trucks on Turo that I could use for what we do, but it is what it is. I mean, I've got rental accounts with like Penske and Home Depot and all that other shit.
Yeah.
Not U-Haul. If you're listening to this, fuck U-Haul.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Don't ever.
Mhm.
Save yourself the time, the money, the headaches, just don't even bother.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that 'cause I was curious if that was one of the routes you were thinking about taking since we were talking about plate pace, arbitraging that plane.
Hmm.
If that was something you were thinking about doing too, like just getting a company to handle the
Yeah.
rentals and
Yep.
income and all that as opposed to doing the active shit
Yep.
like Turo.
Yep. Yep. 100%. I mean, like I said, there's wells of opportunities to monetize the vehicles. So, whatever they are, um, I'm down. You know what I'm saying? I'm down to do it. So yeah.
And Mike, before I forget, where can people find you? Like, what's the easiest ways for them to connect with you? Where can they get more resources? Websites, socials. Go ahead and plug them.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm more than happy to connect with anybody who does need help or just any general questions about vehicles, how they're done, that kind of thing with creative finance. You can get at me at Mike Will Close It on Facebook and Instagram. That is at Mike Will Close It. And then, of course, sellerfinance.io is our premier platform for all things creative finance vehicles. So cars, trucks, boats, RVs, if you're looking to sell or buy, you can go right on there and do transactions. You'll be able to talk with the Top Wheels team. We'll walk you through how the deals are actually structured, how they work, get you connected and perfected on the deals themselves. And then, of course, we do have the free Facebook community's official sub to car group. That is the Top Method community. So you can go there, facebook.com/groups/Top Method. Ask anybody any questions about how any of these deals work, let alone I'm more than happy to jump on a Zoom call with you and walk you through what you need.
And Mike, one of the final questions I kind of ask everybody as we start to like kind of tie a bow on this and wrap it up is, so you're sitting across the table from a brand new investor. It could be a younger version of Mike. It could be somebody that you're just meeting in the community for the first time. What's the piece of advice that you give them that you wish you had?
Get out of the ego of thinking that you got to do all this shit by yourself. Like, go jump on the team. Like, figure out the value that you have. And this was somebody that's, a young investor. If you already took the leap to try to be an investor, you've already got through a couple of mental hurdles to get here. So you've done some work. So now you start to realize like what kind of value do you offer? I will hone in on that and figure out what you want. Find the people who are doing what you want. Think about the value that you have, offer it to them, and join that team. You go a lot farther going together than trying to do all this shit yourself. You can think that you'll go faster, but if you don't know how to do the shit, you will not go fast. You will go extremely slow. And trying to get stuck in analysis paralysis or just trying to YouTube University everything up. Like I did it. Took me damn near a year to get my first deal. Had I just jumped in and then joined the team and things like that, man, I'd been way further, way faster, probably been rich as hell by now. So kill the ego.
I love it, man. Most people have to think about that question for a solid 30 seconds, and you knew it. I could tell you thought about that one before.
Yeah. Now you talking about younger version of me? Shit, ego's a motherfucker, bro. Yeah.
Ego kill all deals.
Ego kill all deals. Ego kill your life, bro. And get rid of any distractions, vices, and BS that slows you down. That's another one. Just any distractions, bro, whether, relationship, and this goes for men and women, relational, any vices that slow you down, any distractions, if you're, spending time elsewhere doing whatever, like you got to lock in. Like you cannot play around with this. Lock in, double down, go for it, balls to the wall, kill your ego along the way, man. You'll get there exactly where you want to get.
Yep. Ego and time are the only two things that kill deals at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's
100%.
not the terms, it's not the price. You can figure that shit out.
That shit's easy
It's yeah,
compared.
it's the ego and it's the fucking time, man.
Mm-hmm.
Can't tell you how many deals I've seen killed by ego and time.
Yep. Facts. Keeps on happening. But that's why I was like, if anything to talk about as far as advice, for me personally at least, younger me, you gotta die faster. Like yeah, you gotta kill that ego faster, you know what I'm saying? And destroy all of them distractions, bro.
Oh yeah, man. Well, that's why I asked that question too, because like I always try to do these interviews as if I'm still brand new in the community. Like I'm not. I've learned a lot. I came a long way in call it like 14 months or so. But I try to ask these questions as if I'm asking them to you for the first time. Like I don't know shit about top,
Mhm.
right? And that allows me to learn. And if I can learn, I can teach. Or if I can teach it, I can learn.
Mhm. 100%.
Well, cool guys. We're definitely gonna have to have Mike back on. We'll have to do a follow up probably in like a year or 6 months and just see where you at and where the sellerfinance.io launch is at. Because I'm curious. I know people are gonna be waiting for that mobile app to be released. So any final words here, Mike, before we kind of before we do the outro?
Yeah, man. I'm definitely looking forward to the next time. I do appreciate you having me on, man. It's definitely been a pleasure. I'm excited to see where you guys are gonna be at, like what episode is gonna be in a year, you know what I'm saying? And what kind of major superstars you're gonna have on the platform and how far you've been growing and you know what I mean? Definitely looking forward to that too.
Oh yeah, man. And guys, y'all know we do these every single Sunday, same time, same place. So you can come hang out with us, ask questions, ask good questions of me, ask good questions of Mike. The only thing that we ever ask is for the value that we give, just bring a friend, tell a friend, come show up, and we will see everybody next time.
Appreciate it.